True. Okay, Rabotai, let's begin. We are on Daf Zayin Amud Bet, and we are at the Mishnah. The Mishnah says as follows: Nishmat habarzel mikito veharag. A guy has a stick, the handle of the axe, and the whole top of the axe, the metal part, goes flying off of the handle, veharag, and it kills. Rebbe Omer enogole. Okay? Rebbe says, for this case, there's no galut. The Chachamim say, goleh. The Chachamim say he does get galut. Now, what's the second case? Min ha'etz hamidbakea. The guy goes and he swings the axe, and the axe hits the wood, and now a chip of the wood goes flying out of the tree and kills somebody. All right? Hamidbakea. Rebbe Omer goleh. Rebbe says, galut. Chachamim omrim eno goleh. Now, it seems interesting, because they're literally flip-flopping on each other. In the first case, swing the axe head goes off, Rebbe says, no galut. Chachamim, galut. Okay? Now you hit the tree, Rebbe's like, galut. Chachamim like, no galut. Well, it sounds like they're just arguing for the sake of arguing. Contrarian, right? One case you say yes, the other guy says no. Second case you say no, the other guy says yes. So that's obviously not the case. And the Gemara is actually going to try and figure this out. But in order to do so, what we need to do before we begin is we need to look at the pasuk. So everyone take a gander at the. I don't get the opportunity to use that word.
When swinging the axe, he wasn't swinging at the guy.
No, for sure not.
Right. So
okay.
It wasn't like just to scare him or something.
For sure not. Okay. Now let's take a look. You see, it's the last one, the last in the back on the side of the column, the last pasuk. If a person comes with his friend, biyar, into the forest, lachatov etzim, he comes to chop wood. And he grabs the axe, the chrota etz, to go and chop the tree. And the barzel, the iron, comes off of the wood. And it finds his friend, Vamet, and he dies. This man has to now run to one of the places of Galut, and he needs to survive. So that is the verse from which Rebbe and the Chachamim are learning their halacha. Now, the focal point is, and we're going to drive the focus even closer in this pasuk onto this one phrase: V'nashal habarzel min ha'etz. And the iron was nashal min ha'etz. Okay, I'm on purpose not translating it. The iron was nashal min ha'etz, from the tree, from the wood. Okay. Now, obviously, there are two ways to learn this, and what we're going to see is that the Chachamim and Rebbe actually disagreed as to how to interpret what v'nashal means and what min ha'etz means. Okay, but I want to point out a couple things in the pasuk before we begin, and then once we do, we'll be able to slip and slide right to the Gemara. Okay? I want to point out, let's look at the pasuk one more time, because Ben raised a good question. He said, was he trying to kill the guy? What was he trying to do?
Trying to scare the guy, trying to send a message.
Was he trying to send the guy? Was he trying to overthrow the guy or underthrow the guy, like we saw last time?
Send a message. Right?
Send a message, right? You come to me on the night, okay? Right? What are we saying over here? Look at the pasuk again. He's coming, what does it call him? His friend, okay? And what is he coming with him to do, Bayar, in the forest? Lachatov etzim, he's coming to chop wood. And what does he do when he goes to chop wood? Even though his intentions when he went on the walk with his friend was to go chop wood in the forest. He now picks up the axe. What is he picking up the axe to do? Lechrot etzi ha'etz, to go and chop the wood again. So you see, not only do we tell you what was his intention when he went on the walk to go chop wood, but maybe something happened. You know, funny thing happened on the way to the carnival, right?
He changed his mind.
Maybe he got angry at the guy, road rage, okay? But he changed his mind. The pasuk says again, no. Why did he grab the axe? Only lachrot etz, to go and chop the tree. So you see, the intention when he set out was for that. You see, the intention and the aim when he went to chop was also for that. So this is completely an unintentional act of murder. Okay, now we see that.
Not to distract.
Yeah.
But when you take a guy into a forest to chop wood and you kill the guy, certainly looks like you had something else in mind, right? In other words,
I have to say, I can say from personal experience that that's not the case.
It happened.
I had, when I was a counselor in camp.
Did you say you almost
There was a guy.
Left London?
The kid, his name was Newman. This happened in New York many years ago. And all the kids were, we were doing an overnight. And we went back, I went to the campsite. There was one kid, he was a feisty kid. He always made trouble in the learning groups. So I figured, you know what, I'll take this kid. We'll go out. We'll do the last minute prep before the thing. And then everyone will come after the learning groups for the overnight, for the campfire. I took this 50-pound axe, okay? I went down there, I chopped some wood, no problem, great. Last thing I wanted to do before we left, there was a little sapling, maybe this thick, okay, growing in the area of the fire. And everyone was gonna put their sleeping bags all around the campfire. So I said, okay, you know what, maybe I'll just knock this tree off and then we'll use it for wood and also we'll clear the area. Anyway, I take a big swing. I had a good nice swing back then, my baseball days. I took a huge swing, and as I'm swinging with this axe, all of a sudden, out of the left side of my eye, I see that this kid is standing right here behind me. And I'm trying to stop the axe mid-swing. It's 50 pounds, okay? You ever see batters try and pull back the bat? Sure. They can't even pull back the bat, and it weighs 8 pounds. A 50-pound axe, nothing to do. Maybe I should have let go here. I don't know, maybe if I had everything slowed into slow motion, I could hear myself being like, no, okay? And I'm coming around, it hits the tree, but there's so much force, it wasn't full on, it was like 3/4. The axe went right through the wood, carries on going, and I could see, and I'm trying to pull it, and I see his head right here. I would have sliced his head off of his body, okay? And as I'm coming around, I'm like, I'm screaming, I'm like, get out, like that. The kid matrixed it, goes like that, full on, like this, okay? The blade goes right over where his head was. He's back on his back on the floor, and the two of us could not breathe. We could not talk for maybe 5 minutes.
That's scary. Wow.
Scariest thing of my entire life.
I heard the story before. And I said it again.
I know
Scariest story of my life. I even told the boys I had to go and ask if he has to do gomel. Who's admitting to the rabbi you almost chopped the kid's head off? So I made up a whole thing. What happens if a guy is swinging a rake? He's like, a rake? Who says gomel for a rake? I was like, no, it's a very dangerous rake.
Very dangerous rake.
He's just looking at me like, what? Yeah, I see Rabbi Lopian. That's exactly what we're talking about. So you just asked me, what do you mean? You took the guy out, obviously you want to kill him. I could say from personal experience, that was not literally my intention was, lachtov etzim, lichrot etzim. I am the case, and Baruch Hashem, he threw himself, did a matrix move, and I went over his head, because otherwise, I would be in Galut right now. Okay, says the Gemara, Tanya, Amar lahem Rebbe l'chachamim. Rebbe looks at the Chachamim and he says, listen, what are we arguing about over here? Why do you say what you say? Why do I say what I say? Amar lahem Rebbe l'chachamim. V'chi ne'emar v'nashal barzel me'etzo. Does it say that the barzel, the iron part, came off of its handle? If you were referring to the handle, you wouldn't say min ha'etz, you would say min etzo, from its handle. So from the fact that it says min ha'etz, it's not referring to the handle, it's referring to the tree. So Rabbi Yehuda learns, v'nashala barzel min ha'etz, and the iron not slipped off of the wood, but rather like a hif'il. It knocked off from the wood. So the metal never came off the handle. It means in the pasuk that I hit the tree had a fragment fly off and kill somebody. And that's why I learned that in the first case, there's no galut. In the second case, there's galut. The second case is where a fragment went off. That's the case of the pasuk. How come Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold you get galut in the first case? So the mefarshim actually disagree. And they go from side to side. Either, some opinions say, Rabbi Yehuda says you don't get galut there. You know why? Because it's too much of a mezid. If your axe was loose like that it went flying off the handle, quite literally, right? That was something that you could have checked. You should have checked. You don't swing an axe without checking the head of the axe. And if you did, you swung the axe and it flew off, you don't get galut. You know why? Because it's too much for galut. Galut won't get you forgiveness. That's one opinion. The other opinion, because it's too obvious a thing, it's too much of your fault. Okay, and therefore he says no galut. Chachamim say no, still galut. The second opinion says the exact opposite. Rebbe says no. It's not that it's too much of an accident, but rather it's not enough. What's the likelihood of the metal coming off of the thing? It's not even something you even think about. So it's not enough. It's not even galut. So the Chachamim disagree on how to understand why Rabbi Yehuda does not say you get galut in this part. The reason why he says the second one you get galut, because that's how he says, that's what the pasuk is talking about. When it says you get galut, that's what the pasuk is talking about. How come he doesn't agree also over here you don't get galut? So the answer will be either because it's too much, so therefore it's almost like intentional, or it's not enough, it's super unintentional, so therefore it doesn't qualify for galut. So far, that's the Gemara.
How does Rebbe interpret case number 2? Case number 2 is not wood leaving the tree and hitting someone?
Case number 2 is when you swing at the tree, a piece of the wood flies off and kills somebody. That's Rebbe's interpretation of the pasuk. V'nashala barzel, and the barzel, the iron, caused to come loose min ha'etz, from the tree. He doesn't like etz referring to the handle, because the handle you'd say min etzo, from its wood. Okay? So what's min ha'etz? It means from the actual tree.
So why he said Nashala Barzel? Then he should say Nashala Etz min.
No, Nashala Barzel, the metal caused the etz, min ha'etz, to go and kill. Okay?
It's missing the word etz then. Nashala Barzel, etz.
No, it says V'nashal habarzel min ha'etz.
That's not Barzel min ha'etz, not Barzel etz min ha'etz.
No, because there's no two etzes there.
Yeah, but you
if you wanted to tell me that wood was going to come flying off the wood, you should say wood flew off the wood.
Now wood. Whoa. I have no idea what you're talking about. There's no wood flying off of wood. I take my axe with the metal, hit the tree. Okay? The second I hit the tree, the fragment of wood from the tree that I just chopped goes flying the other way.
Wood from the wood.
No.
Don't say wood. The tree kills someone.
And that's what it says. Min ha'etz. By the way, I want you. Hold on. Wait for the second piece. The second piece, ironically, sorry, I'm using that term ironically. Second piece of the Gemara is actually even more persuasive. Ve'od ne'emar etz lemata. It says etz now at the bottom, at the end of the pasuk. Ve'ne'emar etz lemala, and it says etz at the beginning of the pasuk. Ma etz amul lemala min ha'etz amitbakea. The etz that it says earlier refers to the tree that you chopped or you were chopping. Af etz amul lemata min ha'etz amitbakea. Let's read the pasuk again. And by the way, this line right over here for me is king. Read the pasuk. Va'asher yavo et re'eu. They go to the forest. What are they going for? Lachatov etzim, to chop wood. Okay. What wood are they chopping? The wood of the tree. V'nitcha yado begazen, and he goes and he grabs the axe. Lichrot, to cut. Ha'etz. What is he talking about? The tree. V'nashala barzel min ha'etz. You use the word ha'etz 3 times. The first 2 times you want to tell me it's talking about the tree growing out of the ground, and the third time you want to tell me now it's talking about the handle. The likelihood here is that it's only ever talking about the tree itself. That to me is a knockout punch. You know why? Because it would be confusing of the pasuk not to use it. I don't buy the first part as much. Let me tell you why. Because many times in Hebrew, we don't use the exact terminology grammatically. So it would not have to say, V'nashala barzel min etzo. Because in modern day Hebrew, you would also say, and the metal came off of min ha'etz, from the wood. We use, without saying the correct pronoun, from his wood, from its wood, it also means the handle. So that, I get it, I hear what you're saying, it's not so persuasive. The second bit says to me that, you know what, you as the person who's writing this pasuk, God, you have the responsibility to speak to me in the same pasuk, using the same word, the same way. And if you meant to say something else, then for sake of symmetry, you would have had to say something else. Okay? So everyone understands? Rabbi Yehuda has 2 reasons why he says that this etz cannot be the handle. Number 1, it should have said etzo. Number 2, 3 times used it in the pasuk. Both times before, it was talking about the tree growing out of the ground. Now you want to tell me it's talking about the tree, the wood on the handle? Come on, it should have used another language. Okay? So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda learns this is referring to a case where a piece of wood flies out from the tree, from the force of you chopping it, and it kills the guy. In that case, you have galut. Yeah.
Both cases?
Sorry?
There's two. The Mishnah says two different things.
Yes.
Right? Oh, Rabbi Yehuda says this, not Rabbi. Got it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now, says the Gemara. So that's Rebbe's opinion. Ma'etz, just like the etz amul lemala before is talking about the tree you're chopping. Af ha'etz amul lemata, you use that same word again. It's got to be talking about the same thing, right? You know what I felt like when I read this, and just on a legal level, in the beginning of the contract, you use the word host. What does it say at the beginning? Hereafter referred to as.
Right. It's called a defined term.
Once you have the term defined in a specific way, you can't use the word host later on and expect me to think it's talking about something else. It's just not. It's not how we do. Okay. Says the Gemara. Amar Reb Chia. By the way, if I ever quit the rabbinate, you have a spot for me? Okay. Amar Reb Chia. Reb Chia bar Ashi says, Amar Rav, in the name of Rav. Vishnehem, both Rebbe and the Chachamim, were both coming from the same place. What were they learning? Mikra echad darshu, one pasuk. V'nashala barzel mana'etz. Rebbe savar yeshem la masoret. Rebbe holds there's a mother for masoret, for the written word. V'rabanan, I'm skipping the word here. V'nishal ktiv, and it says it's written v'nishal. V'rabanan savar, the rabbis hold yeshem la mikra. The way, the mother of the object here is the way it's being read. Now let me just explain. Many times in the Torah will give you a word. The way it's spelled in the Torah is not the way you pronounce it. I always felt bad for the bar mitzvah boy that got the parashiot that has the word who 50 times. Every time, once it's a who, the next time you read it, it's hey vav aleph, and then it's he, and then it's who, and then it's he, and then it's he, then it's who. Hazit the guy. I feel bad driving a Majnun, okay? But that's how the Torah works. Sometimes the Torah says shemen, shin mem nun. The next time you read it, it's shaman. Shemen, shaman, shemen, shaman. We don't know how to read it. What?
Like I'll take red.
Exactly. The pasuk, the way the Torah is written, that's yeshem la masoret. Yeshem la mikra is, how do we read it? What do we make the derasha from? Not the way it's written, the way it's read. Al tikre banaich el abonaich. Okay? So which one do we learn from? Let's look at this pasuk. What does it actually say in the Torah? If you open up a Torah right now about this word, vin nashal, it says vav, nun, shin, lamed, nashal. Okay? Is that clear?
Yeah.
However, and this is, by the way, not your classic yesh em la masoret, yesh em la mikra question. But we're gonna go with the way the Gemara is understanding it. Says the Gemara, if you wanted to read it vin nashal, it actually, if you wanted me to read it the way it says, the way you want me to read it, it actually should have been written differently. It should have been written Nun Aleph, Shin Lamed, Nashal, or Nun Hey, Shin Lamed. Sorry?
Mashal nimshal or no relationship?
No, it sounds the same though, right? That's Mashal,
Mashal.
right? Now,
Doing something to something.
so excellent. So anytime you would want to read it Nashal with the ah sound in it, you would have to have the hey or the aleph there. If it just says vav nun shin lamed, how would you normally read it? V'nishal. Okay? Therefore, Rebbe says, if the pasuk says vav nun shin lamed, then the way I'm going to read it is as the way it's written in the Torah, which would read v'nishal. Nishal is causative. It's not that it fell off. It's that it caused to fall. What would that be referring to? When the axe hits the tree, ricochet. Okay?
What ricocheted?
The piece of wood ricochets off the tree.
We're never talking about the head coming off, right?
No, we are. Wait.
That was the first stage.
The Chachamim say, that's exactly the point. The Chachamim say, no, I get that what you're saying, Rebbe, but at the end of the day, how do we read it? V'nashal. V'nashal is not causative. It's something that happens to the iron. The iron fell off the wood. The iron came off the wood. That means that we're talking about a case where the head of the axe came off of the handle. Versus where the head stayed on, and what flew off is the piece of wood from the tree off and killed the guy.
Like a splinter.
So you understand? We have here 2 woods and 1 iron. The wood of the handle, the wood of the tree, and the iron at the top of the axe. Right? And the Chachamim and Rebbe are arguing, we know that the iron refers to the axe head. What we don't know is, what does Vinashal refer to? Does it mean, and the iron made fly, or the iron itself flew? You got it? So Rabbi Yehuda learns that the pasuk which says you go to Galut is talking about when you hit the wood and the wood flies. The Chachamim learn, no, it's not the case. It's talking about where the head of the axe flies. By the way, according to Chachamim, maybe you didn't even hit the tree.
Yeah, if the
You would have to have
if
hit
the
the
iron
tree.
flew off.
Nathan, you need to mute.
Wait, but you would have to because the only way
No,
the
only
only way
the
to
wood
hit
is the-
No. I swung, flew off. What if I missed the tree? Yes, it means a tree. It means the handle.
No, we said etz from etz. I pulled
That's
three
Rebbe.
etz.
That's Rebbe.
Oh, that's
Rebbe says they can't be talking about the handle. Chachamim say, no, it's talking about the handle.
But he says
We don't know yet why they disagree with Rebbe. But that's what they say. They learn that etz refers to the handle. So according to the Chachamim, it might mean you just swung, you missed the tree completely, but the top went flying off.
But he says specifically, Nishmat habarzel mikato.
Sorry?
Nishmat habarzel mikato.
The case of the Mishnah is, the first case is the way the Chachamim read the Pasuk. The second case is the way Rebbe reads the Pasuk. And each one, when it comes to the way they read the Pasuk, says, Goleh. And what do they say about the other guy's case? Lo Goleh.
But it's obvious here. He says specifically what's happening. So why Chachamim is...
No. In the Mishnah it says specifically. In the Pasuk it doesn't say specifically.
The pasuk says Neshal Minayetz.
In the Pasuk it just says Nashal Ba'azem Minayetz. Rebbe says it's referring to the second case of the Mishnah. And that's why he says Galut. Everyone got it now? Did the penny drop? The Chachamim say, no, talk about the first case in the Mishnah. And therefore you say Galut. But each one, since the Pasuk is not talking about what the other guy wants in the second case, they say Eno Goleh. Okay? So far, so good? Yeah. What we don't know is, how do Chachamim, why do they argue with Rebbe? It sounds like a good reason. The Gemara says, what's the reason for the machloket? The reason for the machloket is that they're arguing about Yesh em lemikra, Yesh en lamasoret. Rebbe says, I read what says in the Torah, and in the Torah, if you read it the way it looks, it says Venishel. Nishel means that something happened to the iron. So the iron, right? Sorry, the Venishel means the iron made something happen to. Right, exactly. Nashal means something happened to the iron. So the Chachamim say, Rebbe says, Yesh em lamasoret. We read the verse the way it's written. The Chachamim say, no, we read the verse the way it's read. Okay?
Rebbe is Nun Shin Lamed, and the Chachamim are Nun Yud Shin Lamed.
Rebbe says it the way it says it in the Torah, Nishel,
okay.
because that's how you would read it if you just looked at the book. Chachamim say, no, but we read it actually, Nashal, because our rabbis have told us how to read every word in the Torah. With the kamatz, Nashal. So we're going to follow the way that you read it, okay?
It's Nun Aleph or Nun Hey, not...
Now, by the way, remember I told you this is not a classic machloket em la masoret versus mikra? Remember I told you that? Classic masoret mikra is who, meaning him, or he, meaning her. So the mikra is definitively different than the masoret. Here, both of them agree that the letters are Nun Shin Lamed. No one thinks it says Nun Yud Shin Lamed. So this is not a classic case of Masoret versus Mikra. However, be that as it may, so far that's what the Gemara says, okay? V'Rebbe Yesh Em LaMasoret Tzvirele. The Rebbe holds Yesh Em LaMasoret. The Gemara says, you just told me that that's the reason why they argue on each other, okay? V'Ha'amar Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef. Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Rebbe Yehuda ben Roetz, Ubet Shammai, V'Rabban Shimon, V'Rabbi Shimon, V'Rabbi Akiva. This list of rabbis, elsewhere, Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, that all of those opinions that I just said, they all hold Kulu Sviri Lahu Yesh Em Lemikra. In the Gemara, where we're drawing this from, every one of those rabbis, the Gemara goes to painstakingly prove that they hold Yesh Em Lemikra. So you're telling me over here that Rebbe holds Yesh Em Lamasoret, which means he doesn't read it the way it's read. He reads it the way it's written, right? But I have another Gemara which lists him as being one of the rabbis that always holds Yesh Em Lemikra, the way it's read. So how could that be? The Gemara says that's true. In every other case, like you proved definitively, Rebbe holds that you follow Yesh Em Lemikra. Hainu dika'amar lehu ve'od. That's why Rebbe felt compelled to give two reasons why he's deviating from his normally held position. Every other time, what do? We follow the way it's read. This time, we don't follow the way it's read. Why? Because I have two reasons. Number one, it should say mi etzo, number one. Ve'od, and another reason I have, because I need to back this up extra strong, because I don't normally hold this way myself. Okay? I need to back it up extra strong. The second reason is etz. If the first two times it meant the tree growing out of the ground, it's got to mean the tree growing out of the ground the third time. Okay? So therefore, that's going to override his normally held position of Yesh Em Lemikra. Okay? Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Papa. Rav Papa says, okay, but before we move on, does everyone understand, therefore, the two opinions? Let's run it from the top very clear. My name is Rabbi Yehuda. I come to this pasuk. You know how I would normally read this? I'm normally an Em Lemikra guy. I would read this, V'nashal, meaning that the barzel, V'nashal barzel menaetz, the axe itself, head, flies off. Because V'nashal means, and it flew off. It slipped off. That's how I would translate it. Problem is, I have two signs telling me that this is not that case. Etz, and it should have said min etzo. Because of those two reasons, Rabbi Yehuda says, and for that reason, I'm out. Okay? That's why he deviates from his normally held position. Okay?
Rabbi, not Rabbi Yehuda.
Same person. Okay? Now, so therefore, what does he learn this pasuk is talking about? It can't be, even though I would have thought nashal, I'm going to have to go with v'nishel, which is yesh em lemasoret, the way it's written. There's no aleph, there's no hey, telling me to make the ah sound, so I'm going to read it with the e sound, v'nishel. V'nishel is causative, where the axe head causes, v'nishel habarzel min ha'etz. The axe, the iron, causes to slip off min ha'etz, a piece from the tree. So therefore, the ricochet piece, according to Rebbe, that's the case of the pasuk, which obligates for galut. Therefore, Rebbe says, in a case which is not that case, i.e., where the axe head goes flying off of the axe handle, I don't have a pasuk telling me that that's galut, and therefore he says, I feel that that's not galut. Why? Either of two reasons. Either because he holds, some opinions say, that the axe head flying off makes you more negligent, because you could have checked that. You could have checked that. You should have checked that. Before you swing an axe, everybody knows. You got to check, etc., etc. It's like a guy takes a gun, pulls it out, fires it, and then says, I didn't, there was no magazine in it. Everybody knows that there's one in the chamber. That's an example of something that everybody knows. Everybody knows you got to check it, okay? So therefore, even though I hold ricochet is galut, if the axe head flies off, patur, okay? First opinion. Second opinion says no. Rebbe says patur. You know why? No galut. Not because you were more negligent, but because you were less negligent. And the opinions that say that there's times when you check the axe head and everything looks hunky-dory, and then you swing it and it breaks. I've, by the way, had this with a hammer. Has anyone ever had this with a hammer? You have the hammer, you're playing around with it, you're checking it, you're holding it, it looks like it's, and then you swing it, and it pops off. Remember the old hammers with the wood coming through. That's the case of Nashal Barzel Mena'etz, right? And you check it and it's fine. But until you swing it that way, until you smack it on the nail, right? You didn't jar it loose. So checking before you hit something is not the same. Okay? So according to that opinion, it's less negligent. So far, so good? That's Rebbe. Now we come to the Chachamim. The Chachamim say, Rebbe, I see you. I understand. I get everything you're saying. Love it. I have one problem. What's the rabbi's problem? The rabbi's problem is, we hold Yesh Em Lemikra. This is how you read it. The pasuk's word, the word is Vinashal. Vinashal does not mean caused. Vinashal means and it flew. So Vinashal Barzel means and the Barzel flew min ha'etz, from the tree. Yeah. So it can't mean ricochet. That's not what the pasuk says. Since that's the case, they hold that's galut. Why don't they agree ricochet should get galut?
Because that's too random. I mean,
It's indirect.
First of all, it's not in the.
Boom!
What is it?
Because you have no leeway to obligate galut there. In the first case, when the iron kills the guy in the neck, where did the force behind that iron come from? Me. When I hit the tree, I didn't hit that piece of wood at you. I hit this way. This is going another way. Why in the world would you think that would obligate you without a direct pasuk in the Torah to obligate? Since they don't have a pasuk telling you that a ricochet is chayav, they have... Oh my gosh, I need some water. Since they have ricochet, they have no pasuk telling them that. They have no right to guess ricochet. Is that clear so far?
Hold that not necessarily he had to have hit something.
Sorry?
Chachamim hold that he doesn't necessarily have to have hit something.
Correct. No, because they're swinging.
Swinging that way.
No. When you swing, the guy's over there. I'm swinging like this. It flies off here. The power of that metal is 100% coming directly from me.
It's not secondary though.
Not secondary at all.
Oh, okay.
It's not secondary at all. But why don't they agree on the ricochet? The answer is, I have no right to agree. I don't have a pasuk telling me that secondary koach obligates you. Okay? Now the Gemara is going to go backwards. Amar, yeah?
Wouldn't it be in the case of Nishel, in the case of Rabbi, wouldn't it be v'habarzel nishel min ha'etz?
No.
V'nishel barzel min ha'etz.
Not necessarily. Modeh ani is I'm thankful.
Yeah, but that's weird.
In Hebrew, you have it both ways.
I see.
Look at it this way. One
You have
is
it both ways.
fa'al,
Yeah, but
and one is nif'al.
נכון.
Right, but
When the nishal is a nif'al.
לא
The-
נפעל הברזל, מן הברזל נפעל.
No, but they meant the barzel chip.
נכון, הבנתי.
by the way, ha'oto nasa or nasa ha'oto. You use it both ways in Hebrew.
Okay.
Yeah, so we would not be able to prove one way or the other from the fact that it's before or after the word. Okay, you're a legend. Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nהיה baro. Okay. Says the Gemara. Amar Rav Papa. Rav Papa taught. Man deshada pisa ledikla. Okay, this is amazing. A guy takes pisa, which means a piece, right? Literally. He picks up a stone, a piece of earth. He chucks it at the tree. Pisa ledikla. Ve'atar tamri. What happens? As soon as the tree gets hit, the dates that are on the tree fall down. Ve'azu tamri ve'katul. Okay, so the dates got knocked loose off of the tree. The dates now fell, and where did the dates fall on? Some guy's head. Kill the guy, right? The dates fell and they killed him, right? Now let's just think for 1 second. I have power coming from me, hitting the tree. What happens from the tree? A piece of the tree flies off, kills the guy. Okay. Says the Gemara, Banu lemachloket de Rabbi v'Rabbanan. This case sounds like the machloket exactly of Rebbe and Rabbanan. Rabbanan say, right, that only direct power gets you galut. Rebbe says secondary power also gets you galut. So that's what Rav Papa wanted to say, that when the dates fall and kill the guy, right? Talk about going on a bad date. Says the Gemara, Pshita, obviously, that's exactly the same case. What's Rav Papa telling me that that's the case? I get it. First power, secondary power. The Gemara says, Mahu de tema, I would have thought, Kikoach kochodami. No. I might have thought that this is not the case. Why? Because in the case where I hit the tree, right, the power that hits the tree is what forces this piece of wood to go shooting out. So my direct power causes this to go out. When I chuck the clod, it hits the tree. My power hits the tree. The power shakes the dates loose. Now the dates fall. That's the power of my power. It's not a direct 1-2. It's a 1-2-3. So I would have thought in that case, even Rabbi Yehuda would say patur, because all I know is secondary power. I don't know power of power of power.
It's not 1-2-3. It's 1-2.
No, watch. If I hit the date and the date went flying, that would be power. Here I hit the tree. The dates, by the way, when they fall with power, that's gravity.
So you're also concluding that the chip. You're also concluding that the chip that came off is a chip that was actually.
But I hit the chip.
Hit by the axe itself. It's not a chip of a chip. In other words,
let's give the example. What happens if I swing the tree at the axe of the tree? Now I hit the tree. A piece falls off of the tree and kills somebody. That's this case. That's this case. Why do I know that that's not the case of Rebbe?
Because it's...
Come on, think. How do I know that that's not the case of Rebbe in the pasuk? Because what does the pasuk say? Even according to him, V'nishal habarzel min ha'etz, and the iron caused to come off of the tree, right? So you would need that the axe, that the iron itself is what caused that piece of wood to kill. If it was this 1, 2, 3, that's not Nashal Barzel Min Ha'etz. Okay?
So Rabbi, if the rock hit the date and not the tree, which caused the date to fall down.
Harry, you're a genius. Hold on to that for 1 second. But you know why I'm telling you to hold on to that? Because Chad Gadya comes at the end. Okay. Says the Gemara, Kamash Malan. I would have thought that Rebbe does not hold that that's the case, and therefore you wouldn't be patur from Galut. Kamash Malan. Rav Papa tells us, no, even in that case, Rebbe also holds that you patur, that you get galut. That, by the way, is a huge chidush. Again, whatever the reason why the Gemara thought that that was a problem, yeah, how does Rav Papa then know that it's not a problem? In the question we said, there's a difference between first power and secondary power. Then what happens when the Gemara says Kamash Malan? We just forget about that? You hear? You guys get the question? How did Rav Papa know that that's the case?
Because he holds not Mikra and he holds...
No, every Mikra and Misor we've moved on from.
But no, saying that primary, like the axe is the one that causes the damage versus the not the axe. The axe hitting something and then hitting something.
I don't understand what you mean.
I need to gather myself. Keep going.
Okay. So Rav Papa holds that in this case, right, when I threw the clod at the tree, so all of my power goes into the tree, right? When that power hits the tree, what's the secondary thing? He holds that the dates falling is called secondary.
Not the vibration of the tree.
Exactly. Rav Papa learns, even though it's a chidush, but the Gemara is willing to allow it. Not because we could learn, what is the word for third after secondary?
Tertiary.
Not the tertiary force, but the secondary force. Why? Because even though gravity helps it, still, that was jarred loose, and the outcome of that, whether it happens by gravity or whether it happens by force, is still called secondary. Okay? That's what Rav Papa holds. Ela, says the Gemara, so is there a case of tertiary force that would be patur? Now, we don't have a proof, because technically maybe every case would be the same. Ela koach kocho leRebbi. Hechi mishkachat. Do we have a case where we would say, no, it's not my force, it's the force of my force, okay? The Gemara says, by the way, I've used 2 and 3, but you could technically use first and 2. Either way, but we're saying the same thing, okay? The Gemara says, Kigon, Deshada, Pisa, same thing. I threw the clod of earth, okay? There, and what happens afterwards? Umachia legarma, and then it hits, not the wood, but it hits a stick, okay? It hits a twig on the tree. The azil garma, and now that wood, so I chuck it up into the tree. It hits a branch. The branch now falls and hits, right? Umachia lechabasa. It hits the groups. I wonder, by the way, if the family Cabasso is from this name, Kabasa. Okay, it hits Kabasa. It hits this cluster of dates. The atar tamri, right? And now the dates got knocked loose. The azul tamri v'katul, and then they killed. Now, technically, Rav Papa made up this case, but I could come up with other cases. What happens if I hit the wood? This thing goes flying off. It hits something else, and that kills him. Right. Any scenario where it's not kocho, my strength, secondary or tertiary, whichever way you're talking, not when it's that much removed, but it's one more that happens after that. What would be in that case? In that case, Rebbe would agree that would also not be chayav galut, and therefore you'd be patur. Okay? So far, so everyone understand the Gemara thus far?
It's not foreseeable.
What do you mean? What's not foreseeable?
The tertiary item.
So it's interesting. You see,
but it is.
The question is, do you even need a logic? Let me explain. The same way I told you, how come the Chachamim don't agree with the ricochet? Because they have no pasuk that tells it to them. The same way the Chachamim can't tell you a secondary to your primary, Rabbi Yehuda can't tell you a tertiary to your secondary. You know why? Because he doesn't have a pasuk. Do you understand? You might not need a logic. You're already telling me it's not foreseeable. It's
looking at the American law.
Yeah, no, I understand. But what I'm trying to tell you is, we might not need a svara here. We might be able to just say, you know why he doesn't hold you chayav? Because he has no way of telling you that you're chayav, because the pasuk only tells you, even according to him, when you hit it and it ricochets, and that's only that primary or that first, but not the second. Baruch Adonai Le'olam.